Hi everybody, I'm Bree. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel again. In my last video where I talked all about my delivery experience of my surrogate baby, I mentioned that I had a postpartum appointment coming up and that I would be doing a check-in with you guys just to let you know how I was doing. If you didn't watch my last video, I'll link it below. For those of you who are just joining me here for the very first time, I am a first-time surrogate. I'm a gestational carrier, which means I had no biological relation to baby. I went through IVF. My intended parents are a same-sex couple, which I've mentioned before. They are two dads, so they used, one of them is the biological dad, and then they had an egg donor through ORM in Portland. That's the fertility clinic that they used. That's where I had to travel. I live in Northern California. That's where I went for the screening appointment as well as the transfer. And now here we are. I'm 2 weeks postpartum and baby is safe and healthy and happy, and he is with his dad actually. He's not quite local in my area. He is a few hours away, but dad was able to get here and everyone is doing good. They have all been so thoughtful and so caring and nice, and have just put a lot of their energy into even making sure that I'm feeling okay about everything. And I really appreciate that because, you know, they're going through their own struggles. My intended father, the baby's dad, he has done a lot of international travel lately, trying to get around the travel restrictions, and he doesn't have his partner with him. He is by himself, so he is going through a lot just on his own. And like I said, he is a few hours away from me, so it's not even like they are relatively close or in my immediate area that I can go and help with baby. I do have a toddler, an almost 2-year-old, so we are all home together, me, my husband, and the baby. My husband is working from home. He took the first 2 weeks off to help me out and not just take care of our son Aiden, but also take care of me. Even though, you know, there's not a newborn around, there is a lot going on with a postpartum body. So I wanted to make a video for you guys, just touching base and letting you know how my appointment went, and also showing you guys some of the things that are super helpful for me in aiding my body to heal and to make me comfortable. So let's just start with my appointment, because I mentioned that in the last video. I had told you guys that I was experiencing some inconsistency with my bleeding and clotting, and I think my labor and delivery, as well as these first couple of weeks of being postpartum, have been very different between this time with the surrogate baby compared to last time with my son. Only in the sense that, while obviously the first thing being, there's no baby to take care of. So I think I have a lot more energy. I think I had a lot more energy right off the bat because my labor was half the amount of time as it was with my son. And I actually got to go home the same day. I had the surrogate baby about 8 in the morning and I was discharged right about 8 at night. And I got to sleep in my own bed and see my son, and it was just really nice being in the comfort of my own home. And I was doing really well. I was bleeding, obviously. I had literally just delivered a baby, but I wasn't really clotting. I had no issues. My pain was really relatively low, and I felt a lot better right off the bat than I remember feeling when I had Aiden. When I had Aiden, I remember feeling just so exhausted, so tired. And it was really difficult, I think, then being so extremely tired, and of course taking care of a newborn and figuring out how to breastfeed for the very first time, He was jaundiced, so we were in the hospital for a couple of days. And I was so extremely exhausted. We had visitors coming into the hospital and visiting us and the baby, and it was just a lot. So this time around, my postpartum experience, I have immediately from the very, very beginning felt a lot more energized. I have just mentally and emotionally felt a lot better. I never dealt with postpartum depression the first time. I didn't know if I was going to deal with it this time, only because it's one, just a whole separate pregnancy and delivery, but two, it's not baby for me, it's baby for another family. And I didn't know, physically and mentally and emotionally, like how my brain would process that. Of course, you go into it knowing you're helping another family, and from the very get-go, it's just a different kind of a bond. Obviously, this was my very first surrogacy, and I didn't know how I was going to do. I didn't think that I was going to be sad or depressed or deal with anything, but you really never know. Postpartum depression is super, super common, and it's really a chemical thing in your brain. And it's sometimes, despite what you think might happen or despite what you might tell yourself, things can change. So I was really going into it with an open mind, not having any expectations, just trying to stay positive. And so far, I have really, really been feeling very good. But I think it was on a Wednesday morning. I delivered baby on Monday, and I think it was that Wednesday morning, maybe Thursday, but I think it was Wednesday. I was in the shower in the morning, and I had passed a really big blood clot. And I'm talking golf ball size blood clot. And I just turned the shower off, and I called my husband in there, and I explained what just happened. I called my doctor. The receptionist left a message with my doctor, and I actually didn't hear back from her right away. I think it was the next day is when I heard back from her. So that showed me that maybe, it's not that big of a deal. But then I was concerned because I had never passed a clot like that with my son, never once. It didn't matter. It wasn't the first day, second day, third day. It wasn't a week. It wasn't 2 weeks. I never ever passed a clot that big with Aiden. I never passed a clot bigger than a quarter with Aiden. And I did have one small tear with Aiden. This time I didn't tear at all. So I was just a little bit surprised to see that. I told my husband about it, obviously, Austin, and I told my mom about it. And they were both saying, well, it could have been like part of the placenta if it had detached, and it's a really good thing that, your body is getting rid of it. And I was like, okay, yeah. Try not to freak out. It really did surprise me though, because I had never experienced something like that before. And then after that, I did tell my mom about it, and she told me, just don't be surprised because you haven't been clotting a lot. Now that that's out, it may have kind of been blocking things from coming out, so you may experience some more clotting. And she was right, I did. I had little clots pretty much all the time. My doctor called me back and left a message. I missed her call. I didn't call her back over the weekend because things seemed like they had started slowing down. The biggest clots I had were about quarter size. But then in the next couple of days, I had started passing really big ones again. I think in total there were 3 or 4 like golf ball sized blood clots that I passed. And it was just very, very strange for me. I didn't want to be in a place where I was going to have like an infection in my uterus and have other issues down the line. And so I called again. I did leave another message with my doctor, with the receptionist, and the nurse practitioner got back to me just later in that afternoon. And we kind of talked about other symptoms. She asked me if I had had any back pain, which I have been having pretty bad back pain, but I think that's mostly just from my epidural. Another thing that I didn't experience with Aiden, that I am experiencing now. I did have an epidural with Aiden, but I didn't have a lot of back pain. I also don't feel like my epidural worked as well as it did this time, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I told her I didn't think it was related to anything else. It really just feels like it's from my epidural. She asked if I had fever or chills, which I had not, which is a really good sign. And she asked if I had any like foul odorous discharge down there, which I hadn't. The only thing that was going on down there was bleeding and clotting. And for the most part, my bleeding was, you know, like medium to light, like normal what it would be about those times after having a baby. And then there were other times where I had soaked through a pad in about 20 minutes. And that was something that they kind of look for, is like, are you soaking through a pad in an hour? And like that being pretty consistent, which I wasn't. That's the thing, is it wasn't consistent. It was like fine, 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 a lot of bleeding, a big clot, fine, 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 a lot of bleeding, a big clot. So it was just the inconsistency that I was worried about. So I had an appointment scheduled for this past Tuesday. Today is Wednesday. Was that just yesterday? Oh, no, it was on Monday. It was scheduled on Monday. So 2 days ago, I had my 2-week postpartum appointment. I'm 2 weeks and 2 days postpartum now. And I saw my actual OBGYN, and she asked me all the same kinds of questions. And then she did an exam both with her hands and the speculum, and she was also like pressing on my belly, and she said everything looked great, everything felt great. I was completely healed, and like no lesions, no tears, which we already knew. But she did say sometimes, you know, if you did have a tear or something, that could be where the bleeding is coming from and not actually from your uterus, which was not the case for me, but that could have potentially been something that was happening. But everything has slowed down since this past weekend. The bleeding has really, really lightened up. I don't need to change my pad as often. I am still bleeding, but it is definitely on the lighter side now, and no more clotting issues. So I'm super, super, super happy about that. So very long story to tell you that my appointment went really well. I'm feeling really good. My bleeding is finally starting to lighten up, but I'm also really just trying to be very aware of, like, if I'm starting to get crampy or if my back is starting to bother me, making sure that I stop what I'm doing and I go and I sit down and relax. I don't want to get in a position where I push myself too much and then I bleed again, like pretty heavy, or I hurt myself. I have Aiden running around, and I need to be able to be healthy for him. And I am off all of this month from work, so I don't quite have to worry about going and being on my feet all day long quite yet. But I will be back about mid-July. So, and I'm a hairstylist, so I really just want to make sure I'm taking care of my body during this time. So I wanted to show you guys some of the products and things that I'm doing to take care of my body, and we'll just jump right in. So first of all, pain management. I was prescribed 800 milligram Motrin that I can take once every 8 hours. And the doctor also said that I could take extra strength Tylenol. I could take 2 of these every 6 hours. So in the very, very beginning, I was really, I was like super on top of when I was taking these, what time it was. I actually had alarms in my phone, one for Motrin, one for Tylenol. And I would even, in the middle of the night, it didn't matter if it was like 2 a.m., I would make sure that my alarm was on and that I would take this, because if I went throughout the whole night without taking these guys and I let it totally wear off, I would wake up and sit up and be in so much pain. So I really made sure that I was being super consistent and really adamant on taking these on time. Now I go through the night and I'm not taking them. And I took these this morning around like 7:30, and it's 4:30 now, and I haven't taken them again yet. So I will actually take these again here soon, but then I won't take them again for the rest of the night. I'm in very little pain now as far as like my actual uterus goes. I just get a little bit crampy sometimes. Honestly, it's my back that bothers me the most now. I am still taking my prenatal vitamins. I am just under halfway with these guys. This is the first time that I have used these vitamins. It's called Ritual. I have seen these all over social media. I've seen them on Instagram. I've seen them on like YouTube ads and being advertised by YouTubers. And I have been really interested in trying them. And then there is a channel I follow, Phil and Alex, and she actually just had her baby after they dealt with infertility for 8 years. She just had her baby, I think, earlier in this week. And she was also taking these vitamins, and so I decided to try these out after I was out of my other ones. They smell fantastic. There's actually a little thing in here. I'll show you guys. This little thing comes in the bottle. You almost can't see it because it is pretty like see-through. It's pretty clear. But that gives the aroma of lemon, and it smells delightful because I have taken vitamins that smell so horrendous that it's hard to take them. And even though, you know, they're capsulated, so you can't really taste it that much, it almost tastes bad just because it smells so bad. But these smell delightful. They tell you to keep that in there just so that it does help with like that sensory thing. But you take 2 a day, once a day. So you don't do like 1 in the morning, 1 at night. You can do it in the morning or at night, whatever you prefer, but you take 2. It has like a no nausea formula, so it doesn't matter if you take it in the morning, you won't be nauseous from it throughout the day. I prefer to take mine at night because I also take other things, which I'm going to get to next, at night. So it's just easy for me to remember to take this. So I have been loving this. It is a monthly subscription, which normally I don't love, but they do allow you to change your dates on there. And actually on the bottle, it shows you like day 1, you should be here, day 15, you should be here, and then day 30, you should be here. But it does allow you to change the dates for your subscription. So I already went in, I didn't change the date, but I did just change it to my regular, like a regular multivitamin rather than the prenatal vitamins. But it is good to continue taking your prenatal vitamins like very close to after you deliver, just to help with the healing, especially if you are breastfeeding or pumping. It just helps with all of that. So what else I take at night now is birth control, which I actually originally wasn't planning on taking right away because I am pumping, which I think helps to the nurse at the hospital and the doctor both. They were telling me that, like, you know, pumping does help you to kind of recover and to like get back in shape a little bit faster, like breastfeeding and pumping. I did breastfeed Aiden for 6 months. I was only planning on pumping for about 3 weeks. And I wasn't exactly sure, but that's about how long I thought baby was going to be here. And then, you know, things have changed because of COVID. So baby was here for 2 weeks with a caretaker and a nanny before dad was even able to get here. So he is going to be here for a bit longer than they originally thought that they would be. They do still have to get things like the birth certificate and a passport for baby for them to travel internationally. So it's going to be another couple of weeks at least. But the dad was telling me that they have had issues, not them specifically, but other people in his situation have had issues getting back home again because of all the COVID madness. But I never intended on pumping for very long. So this is my 3rd week of pumping now. I am like 2.5 weeks into pumping, just about. And I am starting to lose my supply for a couple of reasons. One, I did start taking my birth control. This is not a progesterone only pill. which is what they would normally recommend if you're breastfeeding or pumping, because the estrogen in a normal birth control pill can dry up your milk or lower your supply. So the reason that I wasn't planning on taking birth control is because I did try the progesterone only pill about 4 months or so after I had Aiden, maybe even 5 months, and it did not work for me. I was like having weird hot flashes and dizzy spells, and it just like did not work with my body. It also didn't work for my mom either, and she got pregnant on it, so I don't think it was very effective for her in any capacity. And so I decided to start my normal birth control again, help me hopefully with the bleeding as well, kind of get back to normal, help me lower my supply as, you know, the weeks kind of go by. I, from the very, very beginning, said that I wouldn't pump when I got back to work, even before I was matched with my intended parents, when this was just kind of me talking to my original coordinator, Mariah, in San Francisco, when we were kind of going over like what I want, what I'm looking for. And I was always open to pumping in the beginning, but very, very short term. And I just didn't have a lot of success pumping when I went back to work after 8 weeks when I had Aiden. And I did it for a little while, but I ended up just breastfeeding in the morning and at night, and then supplementing during the day with formula. I just didn't have a lot of success with it. Main reason being because I'm a hairstylist, I don't have built-in breaks in my day. Sometimes I have, you know, hour-long or hour and 15 long haircuts back to back. Sometimes I have 2.5, 3 hour color services. My breaks are different every single day, and so I wasn't able to consistently pump every 2 to 3 hours. And that made my supply really, really deplenish during the day. So and it was just a lot of work. It was a ton of work. And we don't have like a pumping room in my salon that I work in. So I was in the bathroom pumping for about 15 minutes. So we do have 2 bathrooms in the salon that I work at, but our employee one in the back room, where we also have our washer and dryer, that was completely, I mean, nobody could get in there for at least 15 minutes while I was in there pumping. So it was just not super efficient. And I want to be completely done pumping and like feeling back to normal, feeling back to myself before I go back to work, because I don't want to have to deal with leaking or my breasts being really engorged or anything like that when I do go back to work. So I have started taking my birth control. I have also been drinking sage and peppermint tea. My sister-in-law brought over some local honey, which is delicious, some lemon for me. And then she actually has this little like manatee thing that you put tea, like loose leaf tea and stuff in. So she got me some sage and some peppermint from the grocery store, and I just kind of ripped those up and put them in there and steep them in hot water, and I have been drinking that. So sage and peppermint are supposed to help with decreasing your supply as well, so I have started drinking that. So my supply is starting to get lower and lower, and I'm not pumping every 2 to 3 hours anymore. I'm only pumping about 2 times a day at this point. So I am slowly kind of weaning off. When I did see my doctor on Monday, she told me that that's kind of the best way to do it, is just to wean yourself off slowly, because when you are engorged, that's just like a breeding ground for bacteria, and we don't want that to happen. So at night, I didn't bring it out here, but I am also taking 1 stool softener every night, just to kind of help to make sure that I stay regular first and foremost, because with, you know, uterine pain already going on, I don't want to like be crampy because I'm like backed up or something. So I am taking a stool softener every night. Now, I'm not using this guy anymore, but I did want to show you guys this because it's pretty cool. In the hospital, they give you Peri bottles, but this one is from the brand Frida. Like, they have the Frida mom stuff, they have the Frida nose thing for the babies. There's so many Frida products out there now, and I had heard really good things about this Peri bottle because it's an upside down Peri bottle. To be honest, I don't think this is quite worth the money. And let me tell you why. The Peri bottles that they give you in the hospital are free, first of all. I mean, you know, whatever you pay to be in your hospital stay, you have your copay or whatever, that's fine. But you're not buying a Peri bottle separate to that. They send you home with one. When I had Aiden, they sent me home with like 3. They did send me home with one this pregnancy and delivery experience, but I threw it out, I think, because I knew I had this guy waiting for me at home to try it out. So the difference is with a traditional one, let's just say like this is the bottle and this is the top. So it just sprays up. So you turn the bottle like upside down, and I like to spray this like as I'm peeing just to kind of dilute everything down there. They do tell you to make sure that you're peeing often and drinking a lot of water. 1, so that your uterus can contract the way that it's supposed to as you're healing, but 2, just so you know, the longer that you wait and the more dehydrated you are, it can sting more down there. But if you have tears and things. But I like to spray this like as I'm peeing too, which you can't really do with this unless you're literally gonna pee on it. So the traditional Peri bottles that they give you in the hospital are really nice because you can just hold it and spray it even as you're peeing, and then you don't deal with any stinging. Now, I didn't tear this time, and I think I did a lot better at making sure that I was drinking enough water. I have had a hard time the past couple of days making sure that I'm staying hydrated, but I'm trying to be better about it. It's just been these past couple of days. But the past couple of weeks, I have been doing really good at making sure that I'm staying super, super hydrated. And I think that has helped a lot too. But this is nice for after I have peed and I'm ready to clean myself up. This just goes between your legs and you just spray it. I fill this whole thing up with warm water and I just spray it until it's all gone. So if you don't have any tearing or any kind of lesions down there, then you don't really have to worry so much, as long as you are making sure that you're going to the bathroom pretty frequently and you are drinking enough water. Then you won't really deal with a whole lot of that stinging sensation. But this is pretty good for just after you have already peed and done your business and you just need to spray everything down and then just kind of pat dry. I also haven't been using toilet paper. I am still actually using Kirkland Costco brand wipes. Just because everything is like very sensitive down there, even if you don't have tears. So in the first week I was using this guy and then a wipe. Now I am just using a wipe, no toilet paper yet, just because that's a little bit rough for me, but just a wipe. And if you don't want to spend the money on this guy, it wasn't super expensive, maybe $15 or so. I ordered it off of Amazon, but if you don't want to spend the extra money on this guy, I mean, it was nice, but I don't think it's 110% essential. So if you like don't want to buy one more thing or have to store one more thing after you have baby and you're all healed up, don't worry about it. This was nice to have, but it wasn't like a lifesaver. Now, what are lifesavers? Are a couple of things. One, this spray is literally life. I got this on Amazon. This is the Dermoplast spray. It's a pain, burn, and itch spray that relieves pain, it says, from minor cuts, scrapes, burns, sunburns, and bug bites. This is it has soothing aloe, it cools and comforts, it provides fast pain relief. This is all true. It's great. It's like an aerosol bottle. You just spray it. So after I would spray the water, and then wipe down, I will spray this. So again, I'm not using this anymore. I am just, you know, peeing like I normally pee, and then wiping with a damp wipe. The Kirkland adult wipes is what I'm using. But you can use regular toilet paper and just kind of pat yourself dry and just be like very gentle. But then I spray myself with this, just makes sure everything's kind of good and numb down there. It is cooling. It's pretty much immediate is when I feel the relief. And then, because I am still bleeding, I am still using pads. I'm not using very big pads anymore, just like regular flow pads. And I have these little pads in just a plastic bag because these are tucks is what they're called. I got these on Amazon, but they come in like a plastic container with a screw on top, which is really, really great for at home. But I haven't gone out a whole lot. If I have, it's really just been like to my dad's house or my mother-in-law's house. But it is a space saver to just put these pads in a baggie rather than taking the whole entire container. Now, I did buy a 3-pack. So, I mean, the tubs are, you know, a good size, like that big. And this is the last of it. So again, I am just over 2 weeks postpartum, and this is the last of my Tux pads. These are, they're damp, they're wet pads, they're medicated, they are cooling, and they use witch hazel. So that does help a little bit with the healing, but it really just, it feels so good. Some people put these in the fridge. For me, I think that would feel uncomfortable. I think it would be too cold down there between these just being cooling on their own and then also using this cooling spray. I think it would be too much just for me personally. But originally before I like put my pants on, I would put 3 of these in a row on my pad. Now I just do 2 because that's just what's most comfortable. I feel like if I do the 3, I just feel like very moist down there now. So just doing the 2 is comfortable for me, where I don't feel like it's super rough from just the pad, but it does the job. These are literally lifesavers, and I have started switching to more natural products, things that are just like a little bit better for you. So I am using a more natural like pad brand. It's just cotton, it's not bleach, there's no like chlorine in these products. And I got them actually just from Safeway, but Target also carries them. And I've switched, even my deodorant, I've switched over to the Native brand, another one of these products that I have seen everywhere, from Facebook ads to Instagram ads to YouTubers endorsing them. And I have tried other more naturally derived deodorants that just didn't work for me. Mostly, 1, yes, the stench. 2, it was really more of a texture thing. This, I really, really like the texture of. I love the aroma. This is the jasmine and cherry blossom. It's paraben free, it's aluminum free. I do find that I have to apply this more than just like once a day, just because it is, you know, a naturally derived deodorant, but I'm really happy with it overall. Just trying to be more conscious, especially as I'm pumping and just trying to stay healthy. I'm just trying to be more conscious of what I'm putting in and on my body. And really the only other thing that I have been doing postpartum is I'm continuing to use like a body butter. Every time I get out of the shower in the morning, I use just a regular body cream all over my body, but I am still using this guy. This is the Body Boost Stretch Mark Butter. It's fragrance free, it's collagen and elastin firming. This is the 8-ounce jar. There is jojoba oil in it, shea butter. I actually didn't buy this. This was given to me by a friend, one of my old neighbors. She had it left over from when she was pregnant. She had bought one and she didn't even open this one. And this one is actually just about gone. I probably only have one more use out of this. The reason that I'm still using this is because it is a stretch mark butter cream. So I use it on my boobs, I use it on my belly, on my sides. I don't have a ton of stretch marks. I'm noticing that the ones on my boobs are kind of coming back through now, but nothing new like on my belly or my hips or anything like that. I have done a really, really good job of making sure that I stay nice and moisturized and hydrated during this pregnancy, and so I think that helped a lot this time around. And I actually didn't even experience any stretch marks with Aiden until after I had delivered him and I was shrinking back down. But I have done a really good job of just making sure that I stay diligent, and I do this morning and night. So I do this twice a day. I haven't used just this one all throughout my pregnancy. I did use other things in the beginning. Once this is out, I actually have an Earth Mama oil that I can use just to keep everything kind of hydrated, that my agency had sent me. I think that was for my 20-week like gift when I was 20 weeks pregnant. You know, postpartum care is super, super important, and it's really important to make sure that you are honest with yourself about how you're feeling, that you're not beating yourself up. If you do have an emotional day, you know, mood swings in the first couple of days, like if you had like an emotional roller coaster and you were crying, my doctor at the hospital reminded me that's totally normal. You know, postpartum emotions can be stronger than maybe you realize. I think it's easy to think that, you know, once you have baby, you're gonna just pop right back to your normal self and you're gonna feel like your normal self. And it can be a little bit shocking if you don't feel that way. So just give yourself a break, pat yourself on the back. You've done an amazing job if you have just recently had a baby, or if you've had a baby in general. I will continue updating you guys. I think that I might do a separate video just about like my experience with delivery and labor during COVID, because there were new things. You know, my delivery was a completely different experience this time because of COVID than it was with Aiden. So I think I'm going to make a video just kind of comparing my first labor and delivery experience in the hospital with my son Aiden to this past time with the surrogate baby during COVID. And, you know, I feel very lucky and very fortunate because I was allowed to have Austin with me. I know there have been a lot of women who have had to deliver completely alone, which, even this being my second time delivering a baby, sounds literally traumatizing. But especially, I mean, my heart really goes out to all of the first time moms who are delivering a baby for the first time ever, and you're experiencing labor for the very first time, and you're doing it totally alone without any support person, whether that's your partner or a parent, a friend, whoever it is. I can't imagine going through the pain of labor without Austin there. I was dilated to a 5 before they were able to get me an epidural, and I was in a lot of pain. And it was just so comforting looking over and seeing him and knowing that I had him there. And my heart just really, really goes out to everybody who had to do it alone, and you're an extremely strong person. And I can't imagine, and I'm so sorry for anyone who had to go through that. But I will be making that video, so keep an eye out for that if you guys are interested. Maybe you're pregnant and you are getting ready to deliver here soon. That might be a good one for you to watch, just, you know, to set kind of realistic expectations. Congratulations to any of you expecting mamas, and I will make that video here soon. Hopefully I'll post it by next week. And until then, I hope you guys stay safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.